A very good morning to you this Wednesday. You know it's Relationship Wednesday on Life and Style. I'm excited. I hope your day has begun well. I'll have to say this is the day that God has made, and this is Relationship Wednesday. I'm your host, Pastor Chris Atemo, right here. The drill is that we begin with men. We talk to men on Monday, matters pertaining relationship. They bring their perspective. It's so good to have men talking, and I've been enjoying sitting over here, just listening to men, learning a lot from them, growing in the process. And the ladies have been given the opportunity to listen into men, because they say men don't talk. But then we don't just allow them to listen into what the men are saying, but then we bring them back, we bring them in on Retake, which is a segment that comes in right after this. Then we will have Crystal Okusa on Style My Wife, Style My Hubby, and finish up with us, Pastor Chris. You want to interact with us, and we need you to do that because the topics that we have are very, very interactive. We want you to do that. So you go to Twitter, you go to Facebook, you go to Instagram, and do the hashtag is KTN Life and Style. Follow us on our social media platforms at KTN Life _ Style, both for Instagram and Twitter, and KTN Life and Style is our page. 22840 is our number. If you want to be part of the panel, write us an email on Life and Style, that and is a symbol, lifeandstyle@standardmedia.co.ke. I'm about to begin with the men, but the ladies are here also. Hi ladies, how are you doing?
Hi.
All right, so we'll be catching up with you on Retake, but I've got three gentlemen over here, all of them married, so this is going to be a very interesting topic, hoping that they will not be afraid to talk about what we talk about today, which is emotional baggage. That's what we want to talk about today. How do you handle emotional baggage? How do you deal with those things that remind your spouse, your partner, of bad experiences that they have had in the past? That's what I need you to keep talking to us about on our social media platforms. I'm going to have them introduce themselves, beginning from my father's left. Go ahead.
All right, good morning, viewers, and thank you for having me today.
All right.
My name is Joe Gashira. I'm married to one wife.
The gentleman in the middle.
Thank you. Morning viewers, my name is Barak Otieno. I'm married, 35 years old, married to one wife.
35 years of marriage, or 35 years is your age?
I'm 35 years old, married to one beautiful wife called Winnie.
All right.
I have an interest in men's fellowship or men's walk with Christ, and especially championing an agenda of men who are after godly families.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow. Hi, everyone, and good morning. My name is Ken Aringo. I'm a marriage coach and a family counselor, a pastor full-time, married full-time to one Ruth for the last 14 years, a father of 3, 2 boys and 1 daughter.
So we're just going to get into this, Pastor Ken, what is emotional baggage in your understanding?
The 2 words, emotion and baggage. Emotion for me is the issues of the heart. Baggage is stuff we carry.
Okay.
It can be weighty stuff as related to our context of the mind. And so I'm carrying stuff I don't need to carry.
Okay.
It becomes a weight in my mind, a weight in my head that I don't need.
All right.
So emotional baggage is toxic.
Okay. What are those kind of things that you'd consider to be emotional baggage? Somebody getting into a relationship, what would you consider some of the things that you'd consider to be emotional baggage? Any one of you, Barry? Yeah.
Okay, for me it could be past hurts, it could be societal prejudices, it could also be issues of life, like loss of a loved one or loss of a job. Yeah.
All right. And how does one deal with that, so that you do not, as Ken just said, it becomes a weight. It's something in your heart, it's a weight, it's a burden. So I will assume then that, though I don't like assumptions, but I will assume that when I carry this weight and I meet the next person, then they're going to have to bear this weight together with me.
Definitely.
Yeah. So how do you deal with that?
I think for me, one thing I believe so strongly is that hurt people hurt other people. And, as you walk as a hurt, person, and carrying all this emotional baggage, the likelihood of you infecting the person you interact with is very high. And you do not want to be that catalyst and that person who, you know, goes on passing hurt from one person to another. And the reality of life is that, you know, we do not live in a vacuum. And so every day you step out of your house, you know, you're going to interact, you know, with maybe workmates. When you go to church, you're interacting with other believers. Even at home, you know, especially for us who are married, you know, every time you get home, you have to, you know, interact with your wife and your children. And so for us is to come to a point of self-awareness and ask ourselves, you know, what is this, you know, baggage that you're carrying? And when I think about emotional baggage, I'd like to segment it into two. And one is the baggage you're aware about.
Okay.
And so, you know, as been said here, you know, things to do, maybe your ex left you and you know, you are very hurt, you know, that one you are aware of. Maybe you grew up in a family setting where your dad was a drunkard and that really affected, you know, how you viewed, you know, the family setting.
Right.
And then again, there is emotional baggage that you might not be aware about.
Okay.
And this is a baggage that really sneaks up on you when you least expect it. Right. And probably there's never been a situation in life which presented an environment for it to present itself. Okay. And so maybe you walk out and, you know, somebody does something that just sparks something that you actually didn't know, you know, is in your life. And I think this is even more dangerous because then you not know how to deal with it because you had not preconceived it happening. And so when it happens, as opposed to what you're aware about, you know, and when it comes to baggage that you're aware about, is for you to really set very intentional steps and say, I'm aware, and even take a paper and list them down. You know, I suffer from, you know, self-hate. You know, mine is regret. You know, mine is, you know, inadequacy, fear.
But do people easily accept that they're carrying baggage? You know, what you're saying is very good because it brings a solution.
Yes.
To me, just knowing that I have emotional baggage, then I'm trying to find my way out.
Yes.
But do people easily accept that they're carrying baggage, especially when they're in a relationship setup?
I think from my experience, Pastor Chris, I've seen a lot of unawareness and denial. Our culture is such that we fight fire when it's burning, the house is burning. We never prepare the firefighting equipment, just in case. And so I like seeing this way, that we need to be aware of the landmines that we are likely to meet in the context of relationship.
Right.
Relationship has a way of revealing our hearts.
Okay.
Because as you get to know someone, you have to open your heart. And when the heart-to-heart happens, you discover something like he rightly says, Joe actually says, that there are things you're not aware of. But in relationship, someone tells you, let's meet at 2. They arrive at 3. Their culture is 1 hour is the same as 2. And you are used to our dad who he sits in the car, after 2 minutes you are left. Okay? So that's how you grew up. Then your fiancé keeps you for 2 hours. They wonder why you slap them. And that's what, again, you watch at home they're doing. So the element of physical abuse, for you, that was your picture.
Okay.
And so you scare the other party. So I'm saying relationship has a way of revealing the worst in us and the best in us. So can we preempt? Why do I do marriage counseling?
And sometimes people get to that place and then they're very shocked. They are shocked. They never thought that they could hit somebody.
Yes.
They never thought they would speak certain kind of words. They never thought they would react in a certain way, take a glass, break it, and then they are shocked. But mostly with men, Barak, men don't like being put in a place where they look like they have a problem.
Absolutely. And thank you for raising that, Pastor Chris. I want to also raise another aspect, just to pick on the flow of what is referred to as emotional intelligence. It's a subject that I'm trying to study or look at. He spoke about situational awareness. I think a lot of times we walk into relationships or into marriages without preparation, and adequate preparation for that matter. So some of these things hit us like a bomb. For example, we've grown up in homes where you are told marriage is hard, but you really don't ask hard, and you don't know why the term hard is used. So it's really important to invest in this subject called emotional intelligence, in my opinion, because we spend so much studying for PhDs and masters, and we leave what matters most. And I think to handle handle emotional issues, you must have emotional intelligence.
And for the man, you know, I still get back to that place because, Pastor Ken, you're a counselor. it's not very easy for a woman to set up an appointment with you and bring in the husband, right?
Very hard. Then really
Men
they
don't
come.
like being
Yeah,
brought
if
into a
you set
place
it
where,
up for you, you go finish with the pastor.
yeah, they don't like coming into a place where they look like they have a problem. But now, you know, Joe was talking about, I've got to come to the place of awareness, then start putting it down. So how do we get men, especially, to accept, look, you have baggage,
Yes.
and you need to let go of this thing.
I think for men, and we are a very special breed, because the way we have been cultured as men and the way we've been brought up is that we've been told men are strong people, you know, and men, you know, are people who cannot afford to, you know, bring forth their emotion. You know, I've been told severally, even by my, you know, folks, that, you know, as a man you cannot cry. You know, and what that does to you is that you end up crying inside, because now you cannot, you
So
know,
you're bottling up stuff.
exactly, and you're bottling up all these things, and they keep, you know, building up, and by the time, you know, you're coming to the realization that actually I'm walking a wounded man, then you've gotten to a place, you know, of no return. You've, you know, gone to your man cave, and I think for men is just to get opportunities to, you know, and spaces of accountability where we say, hey, even as men, we admit that we actually get hurt. So how do we get to a place where we appreciate this hurt, and how do we walk out of it? As opposed to the historical view that, you know, men are strong people, you know, men, you know, you're the one, and I can guarantee you, and, you know, the married men here will bear me witness that some of the things, you know, and I like giving this example that when a thief maybe comes to your house at night, you know, and your wife tells you, hey, it's your you know, go check what is happening. You know, I hear the door, you know, and I can assure you the fear in us is humongous. But you cannot show it. You will have to step out and go and walk.
For the sake of the
For the sake of the woman. And so, how
Are
can
we really strong, or are we hardened?
we are not strong, we're not hardened. We just put our brave face,
But
which
that's
is
what I'm
very
saying,
temporary.
because, you know, you talked about we will cry internally.
Yes.
We bottle up stuff. So is it that men have grown up perfecting creating a very tough container? Yes. Yet on the inside,
Very weak.
there is really nothing
frail,
in there.
yeah.
And they keep on carrying that and going into places. And so one time when this container is broken,
And like it explodes.
there's an explosion
Yeah.
over there.
Pastor Chris, there's a joke I make in counseling sessions with couples that, for me, I've come to realize that men are the weaker sex. And many men look at me like, what do you mean? Because I know many times when I've seen my wife bear the brunt of some of the challenges we had in our 14 years of marriage, and if I were to try and carry half as much weight, she'll be quiet with something. She tells me after 7 years, do you know, 1, 2, 3, I'm thinking, 7 years, I'll be dead, you know. But she just trudges with it and has to balance her, she's a career woman, and I'm thinking, if you gave me, I can't. And I know many men who the challenge is, they would keep that container looking very okay from outside. But when the rubber meets the road and they hit that rock bottom, to get a man from deep down, that's harder than a woman.
Right. When men deal with emotional baggage, I don't know whether it's just my thought or it is true. Is anger the easiest way for them to express that? Is that the easiest way to know that this person is carrying baggage in relationships for men?
I will not say it's the easiest way, but it is an indicator. It's the most likely indicator.
Is it a common?
It's a common, yes, it's a common indicator of someone dealing with an emotional baggage. Because the first thing we're taught is what I call muscular competition. You want to defend my territory. Men are very defensive of their territory.
Sure.
So I'm going to be hitting out so that you don't come too close. So that's why. So I'll flex
Where does that put the spouse?
It creates a very difficult environment, because rightly, as Pastor Chris, as Pastor Ken has said, indeed women are strong, and that's why they come to complement the man, because there is really that gap that we've never discovered, and which we can only, after many years, is when you can be able to say, indeed, these women are strong. So I think a lot of times, because we don't want to admit their strength, or we feel that they're encroaching on our territory, then we tend to start fighting them off and blocking the very same ideas that are supposed to take us to that place where we're supposed to be.
Right. But now, you're all married. How do you help your spouse? If your spouse is the one who's battling with baggage, how do you help them? How do you bring them out? What kind of support do you offer? What kind of leadership do you offer?
Okay, I think for me, and before I touch on that, I think one of the ways I've seen men, try to deal with that is they enter into their own cocoon. And, I like calling it the man cave, and you go into a state where you're just like a piece of, wood, very inanimate, and you assume the issues that are there and you don't want to deal with them. And that presents a very huge challenge, especially for the wife. Now, in the case where the wife is the one dealing with a lot of emotional baggage, I think as a men, we've been called to be the kings and leaders, even in our homes. And one of the things we need to do continuously is to keep affirming, keep reaffirming. And every time they get into that space, you keep reminding them that, this thing shouldn't define you, and the art of just separating the issue from the person in this case is very important. And so for you to say, this might have happened to you in the past, and it's bringing you down, but you need to understand that this same thing cannot hold you. So keep reassuring and saying, hey, this is who you are in God. This is what you're meant to be, calling out the greatness in her. And by that is to say, you provide proper perspective and say, by you being in this space, you're not only denying, myself and my family, but you're also denying, general community of the blessing that would be if you are in your full state.
Joe, I'm not gonna let you go easy with that, because I think that's easy for men to do in courtship. They're very patient.
Marriage is familiar.
I mean, men, they will teach women how to drive in courtship. They will do all that kind of stuff. They won't do that with their wives. I mean, he'll try to drive with the wife while there, and he's upset. He'll think like, I'm paying for you driving school,
Yeah.
So how do we work that to bring men to the place of, getting patient with our wives? Women they're more patient,
Right.
They'll take care of you while you are sick, 2 years or something. They'll be there. But how do we bring men into this place of learning that I need to go through the process with this person? It's something that they're dealing with. How do we do that, Barak?
Yeah. Giving a personal example, I think from time to time we need to re-examine ourselves. The proposal that I made, there are those things that I told my wife, the usual story that you said and then you disappeared, once she got home. But I deliberately take time, and I think it's something that I would encourage other men, and I know there are many men out there who do it, to just sit down as the head of the family and look back. These things we said we'll do together, or these things I said I'll do for you, why haven't I done them, or why should I do them? And it takes humility to get to that place, and it takes teachability. So as a man, I invest considerably in learning, either attending marriage sessions or just sitting in forums where marriage is being taught, even though I've not been married for many years, but I still feel like I need to learn more each and every day.
How do you cultivate trust where there's been issues like emotional baggage? Sometimes you're treating this person very well, but then, as you said, that it's a weight on the inside. Maybe they went through a lot of abuse. Maybe they went through a lot of heartbreaks. They were mistreated. Low self-esteem came in. There was emotional, mental, sometimes physical abuse and molestation. And you're married to this kind of a person. And you want to be there. You want to be the man that Joe, Barak are talking about. But then now this person keeps on being drawn back by this. How do you cultivate the trust that they should, number one, trust you, and then just release themselves to the healing process?
I think the word you used is very important, to cultivate. I've never seen a farmer who harvests after 1 day, 3 days, 1 week. So that brings in the virtue of patience.
Okay.
And also, as the Americans would say, cut some slack for the other party. Basically means put yourself in their shoe. I think the challenge sometimes we fall into is when you're trying to see now you become too much, you start counting the cost and thinking, I've been trying this is the third week, this is the second year. You know what, if you continue like this and you start threats, you won't be helping.
That's a dangerous place to be, right?
Don't push the person on the edge.
Okay.
Just try and enter and wear their shoe.
All right.
Even if they're size 9 and you're size 7, please try and adjust.
So how do
intentionally.
How do you then, because you can't give what you don't have, right?
That's right.
So if you're giving so much to this person, how do you draw back so that you're able to give them? Because you're dealing with probably you're dealing with leakage in emotion. So it's like pouring water into a bucket that has holes. Yeah.
And I think Bara gave a very nice antidote that even though I know I've been married 14 years, Pastor Chris, there are many times I have sat with men who have been there longer than me. One of my mentors has been married for 57 years. And anytime I sit with this old man, I am humbled. The stuff, sometimes I feel like Ruth has just made me that leaking, whatever I can tell you this time. But at times I'm trying to love on her, and men are not going far. And I sit and how have you loved 57 years to Mamlea? And I discover there's so much wisdom. There's so much that I need to work on myself. And so, please, can we have the grace as men? I like the fact that we are 4 men here. I like how you began this. Men are talking.
Yeah.
I got men in my church the other day. I'm a senior pastor of a church, an Anglican church. And 2 weeks ago, I took the men out for a nyama choma. They thought it was just pure nyama choma. But there's something else that I was planned. I didn't tell nobody. But halfway through the program in the nyama choma, I got a man to come and tell us about a man's issue.
Right.
And this was a younger man telling old men his father's age mate. And some of the guys, the feedback I got was amazing. I was like, whoa, 35 men talking, just talking. The guys didn't want to leave. The nyama choma was the meeting point. But now that mood, the ambience.
So it's not true that we don't talk,
We
right?
talk. Where? Swali is where. Men, when they're around the women, want to look awesome. No, good. Let the women do the talking. But when men are together, they can be vulnerable.
Because when I do men's meetings, sometimes ladies will say, can I come in? And I say, no, they won't talk if you come in.
That's right.
The moment,
that wisdom lacks in many places. Put men alone.
Yeah. And maybe just to add on that, I think that's something I struggled with personally, just talking. I used to be a man of a few words. I don't know if I'm still a man of a few words. But I was challenged because then I get into marriage and, when you get home, you can't just stay quiet. You have to say something.
Give feedback.
And over time, it's really become nice. And I'm the one who doesn't stop talking now.
Who doesn't stop talking?
Whether it's in the kitchen, wherever it's where, and I find it...
Just before we go into a break and get the ladies, most ladies, they get their baggage mostly from relationships and from men. Where do men pick most of their baggage? Is it from their fathers? Is it from business? Whatever. Just in closing, so that then we go in and retake.
Okay, I think as men, most of our baggage is from a family background, from my own experience. And the way you've seen your father, your uncles behave, towards yourself and towards, the other, ladies within the family setting, I think that goes a long way in defining that narrative that then you advance. And the other thing I would say is that, there's a feeling that, there's a pressure in society that when you are a boy child, there are certain expectations, that you must meet as a boy child, right. And as you go through life, there is that back, note in your head that, I must grow up, I must own 2-3 companies, I must be the CEO, and when you're walking in life and you discover, hey, I'm sitting in a master's class, and, everyone here is a lady, and the person who is managing me at work is a lady. And so you start asking yourself, where did I go wrong? And some of these, thoughts that come from an undefined, kind of thing, to fit into something that is not even real, I think, that is where, so I would call it a self-imposed pressure.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Barack.
Yeah, I totally agree with him. I think most men always look out for a mentor. Right from, as a child, you look forward to being a pilot or a driver based on what you used to see in your neighborhood. So I think that really shapes us, and when we don't achieve certain targets, and we just feel disillusioned.
Okay, but second, I wanted to give you a thought on what should ladies understand about men when they're dealing with baggage. Then we take the break.
Wow. If you're dealing with a man, anytime, not even a man with baggage, I think ladies need to give men, find ways in which you'll get this guy talking. Because at times I've restrained ladies from talking. Don't be excited that he's hearing you. Try and pick some stuff. that you need. Because along the way, you'll want him to talk. To be too late. Let him talk before you get in the commitment. Create avenues to get this guy talking. Because men can speak, like you had, I don't know
one of
what
those
happened
avenues is not to tell
brothers.
him like,
Yes.
talk to me.
I don't know.
Don't say talk to me.
Do something that will make him talk.
Create a conducive
Create a
environment.
environment.
Yeah.
Action.
All right, so we're going to take a short break right now and then come back on retake because the ladies are waiting to talk to us also about how to deal with emotional baggage. Remember to keep tweeting, keep talking to us, the conversation going on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram with the hashtag KTN Life and Style. We'll be back shortly. Don't go anywhere.
The baggage, it brings fear, but we shouldn't be scared. If you tell your spouse, whatever, in bits, in magnitude, whatever you decide to give out, and then I think the other parties should be patient, because at the end of it, there's going to be freedom. You'll be freed and you'll feel relieved from all this baggage, and at least there's someone who understands me and wants to help me unpack this baggage and or drag it to the side, whatever matter you just agree with someone and help each other out and learn to be patient with each other.